Everyone, welcome back. This is going to be the workshop number 5. Yep, workshop number 5. Now, I hope you are with me. In the last video, we have explained about a couple of concepts in VPC, subnets, and regions, availability zones, elastic IPs. These things we have covered. Now, in this video, we will talk about more on VPCs, how to create a VPC, and we'll just do some experiments in the VPC's perspective, so that you would be very confident with that. So let's quickly jump into that. Now I'm going to my account, so please log into the console. Yep, I've logged in. Now I'm in which region? I'm in North Virginia region. If you click on EC2, you won't be seeing any EC2. I think I had terminated it after the last workshop. After the last workshop, I have terminated it. So I don't have any instances in my North Virginia region. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the VPC here direct. So if you go to VPC, clicking on VPC, the favorites one. Okay. Now, each and every region will have a default VPC. Okay, remember that. Now, I'm in North Virginia. Now, if you see, there is one VPC. Okay, if I go to Asia Pacific, Hong Kong, there would be a one VPC. Okay, I have to enable it. So it says you can control whether users in your can users. When you enable access AWS performance, enabling a region is free, but your users might create or use resource that results in AWS fees. So I'm just clicking on enable. So there are few regions which you have to enable it in order to make yourself workable. So let me go back here. So here, if you say in your account settings page, if you scroll down, so that is the AWS region. So there are a couple of region which is disabled by default. If you want to enable those things, then you can come and enable here. Okay, now which region we have enabled here is, if you go to VPC, so we were trying to enable Hong Kong. So if you hit on Hong Kong, click on continue. So if you have to come here, and there is something called Asia Pacific Hong Kong and disabled. So here you have to click on enable, and it says you can control whether your users in AWS account can access resources, blah 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 blah. Just click on enable region. Now the region will be enabled. Now if you see, it is enabled. So if you go back here, if you go back to VPC, click on VPC and click on the region Asia Pacific Hong Kong. Okay, it is being prepared. So you can use this AWS after AWS finishes preparing it. For most accounts, preparation is completed in a few minutes. So let's use some other region. Maybe I'll use Mumbai. Okay, the reason why I've chosen Hong Kong is I wanted to show you that on the top right, if you click on your account and then click on your account name, you will get a page where it will display your account details and everything. And if you scroll right, there is something called AWS regions here. So here in this AWS regions, there are few things which are enabled by default, which are these regions are enabled by default, and there are few regions which are not enabled. So those things are falling in this category. See, Middle East is not enabled by default. Asia Pacific, Jakarta, Africa, Middle East, UAE, Hong Kong, Europe, these are all not enabled by default. So for example, if I'm going to Europe Milan, okay, if you go here, if you click on VPC, okay, I'm in Mumbai. If you go to Milan, if you click on Milan, it will give the same pop-up what we got when we were trying to enable Hong Kong. So the reason why I'm showing you this is there are a couple of regions which are not enabled by default. You have to go to your account details, click on account, and then scroll down. You have a region, you have to enable it from here. I have enabled one of the region which was not enabled by default, the Hong Kong one. I had enabled it. and it takes some time to prepare the resources for AWS. If you see Hong Kong, let's see whether it works now or not, else it will take some time. So it is taking some time. Maybe after some time we will check that. In the meantime, I'm clicking on Mumbai. Now if you click on Mumbai, I have two VPCs created. Okay, so here you can see VPCs, there are two VPCs. Yeah, just click on two VPCs. Okay, so one is the default VPC, which is this one. Okay, and this is some other VPC. For some learning purpose I have created it. Yeah, now if you take any other, for example Asia Pacific, Seoul, whatever regions you have enabled, there would be a default VPC in every region. Okay, remember that. So see, there is a default VPC available in every region. Now I'm going back to our North Virginia, US East North Virginia. Okay, good. Now what we're going to do here is, this is a default VPC. We never use default VPC for any kind of work because we need to have our own secured network in the cloud. So that we called as a virtual private cloud. VPC full form is virtual private cloud. So what we're going to do here is, we're going to create our own VPC. Okay, and we're going to create a couple of subnets, and then we will try to create resources in that VPC. So for that, what you need to do is, you have to search for VPC and you will come to this page. Now the next thing is click on create VPC. So when you click on create VPC, when you click on create VPC, so you can see the definition of the VPC. So the definition of the VPC is an isolated portion of the AWS cloud populated by AWS objects such as Amazon EC2 instances. So as I've explained it in the previous workshop videos, what happens is, say for example, this is a kind of your region. Okay, and this is a region, and in this region what you're doing is, you're creating, this is the default VPC, and inside this you have some EC2 instances and other services. Likewise, you're creating another VPC. Likewise, you can create another VPC. Likewise, you can create another VPC. So there are a couple of VPCs which you can create, but there is a limit for this. There is a default limit for VPC. So if you Google it, say for example, if I'm going to EC2 instance here, right click, open link in new tab. If you click on this, and then there is something called limits here on the left side. So click on limits. Now here, if you search for VPC, enter. Okay, see VPCs, current limit is 5. The total number of VPCs for this region is 5. So you can create maximum of 5 VPCs. Okay, but if you want more to be created, you can select this and then you can click on request limit increase. So click on this request limit increase. So it will ask you a couple of details, then you can submit it with the AWS support team. So they will verify it and they will provide the details. Yeah, so these are all the things from the VPC. The number of VPCs are 5, and also here in the limit section you can see other things as well. So VPCs, or if you want EC2, do you get anything on EC2? No, not this one. So auto scaling groups, you can create 500. So likewise, you have a lot of things here. Now you can check those things later part. And also load balancing. If you see load balancing, application load balancer, you can create 50. NLB, you can create 50. Target groups 3000. And you have networking. In networking, we have route tables per VPC 200. And is there anything for security groups? Let's see whether VPC security groups per elastic 5. So a lot of things, guys. So here EBS we have for storage, and then running instances. Security groups, there are no limit. Security groups per instance, it's 8. So in one instance you can add on 8 security groups maximum. and yeah, so a lot of things. So just have a quick read on this limit part. So for now, the VPC which I'm talking about is this is the one. I can create only 5 VPCs at the maximum, but if you want more, as I said, click on this request limit increase. Yeah, so so that will, you can increase it for whatever you want based on the AWS approval. That's fine. Now I'm going back to the VPC here. Now, okay, let me start from the beginning. I'm in your VPC section. I'm in North Virginia. So I clicked on create VPC. Now, once you create the VPC, so VPC, it's an isolated portion of the AWS cloud populated by AWS objects. Objects means, EC2 instances, EBS, auto scaling, load balancers, the various services, whatever we are talking about, these are all objects. Now it says resource to create. Okay, you want to create only the VPC or you want to create more? If you see the difference between these two options, if you select VPC only, you have some standard template. Yeah, but if you click on VPC and more, see the page is getting expanded and you are getting some diagrammatic representation, which we will talk about it. I want to keep it VPC only for now. If you click on VPC only, understand this. Okay, say for example, I'm just saying my VPC only. Okay, my VPC only, and I'm just giving a CIDR IPC v4 CIDR manual. Okay, or if you click on this one, it will you have to create an IPAM values. We will talk about those things later part, but for now we will just click on IPv4 CIDR manual input. Now what is the range you have to give? If you remember, if you right click, open link in new tab, the VPCs here, and then for every VPC there is a CIDR range. Yes, so for example, this is the default VPC and our CIDR range is 172.31.0.0/16. So I'm just opening this Excel sheet. So here if you see the default VPC, our CIDR range is this one. Okay, now is this a public address or private IP address? Obviously this is a private IP address. If you remember our things, private IP address range, if you remember, I had discussed this in the last video. If you scroll down, you will see these many things are the private IP address. Whatever ranges falls under these things, so those are private IP addresses. So now if you see this, so 172.31, it's falling under this class B1. Okay, now that's fine. Now the private, now I'm going to create my custom VPC. So when I say custom VPC, maybe I'll just give the name for our understanding. So this is the name, my VPC only. Okay, and I'm going to give some range like this, 10.0.0.0/16. So when I do this, this falls under which region? This falls under this region. So this is a private IP address. So always AWS suggests create it under the private IP address range. So 10.0.0./16. Now how can you see how many IPs are there available in this? You guys know that. So one thing is you can go for CIDR range, or you can go for this jodis.de, and 1 minute. Let me give you the right URL. Jodis, yeah, this one, jodis.de IP calculator. Okay, and then here just type 16 here and then calculate. If you calculate, you will see that it has 65,534 IP addresses, and the starting IP address is 10.0.0.1 and the last one is 10.0.0.255.254. So these are all the IP addresses which is taking. So total we have 65,534. Now what we're going to do is we are going to apply the same principle here. So I'm going to type 10.0.0.0/16. Okay, I'm not going to do anything with the IPv6, just leave it as it is. Now the tenancy is default or dedicated. Let's go for default right now. If you click on info, you will get an information here. What is tenancy means? I mean, what do you mean by tenant? Tenant means you are just going to a house or some shop, and then you're gonna stay there for some days or some time, or maybe permanently you're going to stay, something like that. So if you read the sentence here, You can run instances in your VPC on a single tenant or dedicated hardware. So there are two things. Okay, when you say dedicated hardware, means the host will be dedicated for you, for your team. So whoever launches anything in this VPC, it will be on a dedicated host. It's more secure, but it's more costly. Okay, so we don't need that for that workshop now, and you can go for default. Okay, so default is nothing but it's a shared VPC, it's a shared tenant model. Okay, so don't go for default. So you can go for you don't go for dedicated, rather go for default. Okay, now scroll down, that's it. So if you click on this create VPC, or maybe what I'll do, yeah, if you click on create VPC, just see what it's going to happen. Okay, if you click on your VPC, our VPC is created. Yeah, our VPC is created, all these things are done. If you click on your VPCs, just understand this. Okay, what is this? Our VPC is my VPC only. I'm opening an Excel sheet. So this is the my VPC only. Yeah, and then this is a VPC ID we have. Okay, this is a VPC ID. Yeah, and this is a CIDR range. Yeah, that is there. CIDR range is there. Then if you scroll right, so we have something called route table. Okay, this is a route table. And this is the NATgateway, which we'll talk about it in some time. And this is not a default VPC, it says no. Good. So one VPC is got created. Now let me click on subnets. When you click on subnets, let's see what happens. How many subnets we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 subnets are there. In the 6 subnets, all the 6 subnets are mapped to which VPC? Our default VPC. So when you're creating a VPC with the option of only VPC, that is, if you go here and then if you click on create VPC, if you choose this VPC, only VPC, your subnets will not be getting created automatically. If you see, these subnets are our old default subnets. We don't have any new subnets which was created automatically when we created the VPC. When you choose this, that is one thing you have to understand. Okay, now let me go to the route tables. When you go to the route tables, yes, the route table, the new route table got created when you create a VPC only. If you see this, if you scroll right, see this route table, the old one is connected to the default VPC, and this one is the one which we created now with arranged to this VPC. So the route table was created. Now let's go to the internet gateway. When you go to the internet gateway, see, internet gateway, it's only one which is attached to the default VPC. There is no internet gateway also added. Okay, now if you scroll down, there is something called NATgateway, network access control list. This is also got created. If you see my VPC only, it's got created. We will talk about this NATgateway. It's like a security group, but it's a little bit of difference. When we do practicals, you will understand more on that. We will talk about it. Okay, what is the learning point from here? So learning point is when you create a my VPC only option, okay, no subnets will be created. Then what else? No subnets will be created, no IGW will be created, and only these two things. If you see this, VPCs, subnets, nothing is created, route table got created, internet gateway not yet created, then NATgateway is created. Okay, so these things are no. What are the things are yes? Yes, route tables are created, NATgateway are created. So always remember this for it's good to have these kind of understanding, guys. Okay, good. Now let's talk about, I'm going to delete this VPCs, guys. Okay, we are not going to work on this kind of VPC. So I'm going to select this action and then I'm going to click on delete VPC. So when you click on delete VPC, just click on type delete. Okay, and then click on delete. Now the VPC will be deleted. Yeah, cool. So you have successfully deleted the VPC. Now I'm going to create another VPC. When you click on create VPC, this time I'm not going to go with the VPC only. No, I'm going to go with something called VPC and more. So click on VPC and more. Now here, what happens is you're getting some more options to, understand. So for here, I'm going to do VPC more just for easy identification, VPC more. Okay, now as soon as you type something, see here it gets changed, right? So I'm just giving some name VPC more, and then here I'm going to give the same CIDR range. Yeah, so here let's do one thing. I'm going to open an Excel sheet, and this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, VPC more. Okay, and this is the same CIDR range I'm going to put it, and if you see this, tenancy going to be default. Now here, this is the beauty. It's asking, okay boss, you're creating a VPC, how many availability zones you want. Now default it says 1, 2 and 3. See, if you put 3, you have to see the diagram on the right side. Okay, see this guys, you have to see these diagrams. These diagrams, when you change something here, this will change. Okay, so let's see, just note that very carefully. Now if you click on 3, see this, if you click on 2, if you click on 1, so what do you understand by this? When you click on 1, you're getting something called US East 1A. If you remember in the previous workshop, we had talked about it, availability zone, US-East-1A. If you make it 2, see, US East-1B. If you hit 3, US East 1C, it happens. Now let me start with 1. If you make it 1, okay, you got the availability zone, which is connected to this VPC. But if you highlight this VPC, there is a connection going to 2. What is this 2? What is this 2? This is subnet. So there is one subnet called public and the other one is called private. And if you remember, public means what? Route table and subnet. If the route table is having a connectivity with the internet gateway, and then that route table is mapped to this subnet, it means this is a public subnet. And again, another route table, and this is a subnet. And if this route table doesn't have a connection to the internet gateway, and this route table is having connected with the subnet, then this is a private subnet. So we have one public subnet and one private subnet in each subnets. In each availability zone, you can say like that. Okay, so in US, in availability zone 1A, we have two subnets. One is public subnet and the other one is a private subnet. If you add the availability zone to 2, see, same thing. 1B, you are getting one public, one private. If you put it 3, you'll get one public, one private. So 3 AZs are there. If you want to customize it, if you want more, you just click on customize AZ. What you can do is here, you just put it like this. See this? Number of public subnets 3, you can put it, and you can increase the private subnet. So likewise you can play around, but we are not going to go customize it for now. We'll just keep it 3. We'll just keep it 3 for now. Okay, cool. Now let's come back here. Now what is the next one? Number of public subnets. Okay, and then we have to define the private subnets also if you want to customize it. Yep. So, and also if you want one more thing, if you don't want something in 1A or 1B or 1C, you want something else, you can change it to 1D, and then you can change it to 1F, you can change it to 1E. So that will change on the right side. Okay, so that is the concept. You can customize it. For now, for easy understanding, I'm going to put it 1A, 1B and 1C, the availability zones. Now I'm coming back here. Now what does it says is how many number of public subnets you want. 0, 3. So if you put it 0, there are no public subnets. See, all the public subnets have gone. Only we have private 1, private 2, private 3. Only the private subnets are there. Okay. Now if you put it 3, see, you're getting both. Number of public subnets, you have 3. Now the private subnet, if you don't want private subnets, you can put it 0. Only public subnets are there. But if you put 3, you'll get 3. If you put 6 private subnet, there will be 2 private subnets in each availability zone. So I'm going to put it 3. Okay, cool. So this is done. Now if you want to customize the CIDR block, you can click on it, and these are all the things which is automatically available, addressed by the AWS. When I gave the CIDR block here 10.0.0.0/16 in the VPC, just put this. See, this is the VPC CIDR, and then if you scroll down here, so these are all these CIDR block in US East 1A, 1B. So let's do this. So 1A, you guys have to do this experiment, understand more, to understand more on this. So US East 1A, and then 1B, Control D, Okay, so 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1D, 1E, 1F. Yeah, so we have 6 availability zones. In these 6 availability zones, what it's happening is it just gives you this option. See this, the CIDR block, it just gives you like this 10.0.0/20, 10.0.16 something, 10.32.0. Yeah, so this automatically gets calculated and then it gives you, and you guys know where to check what. If you copy this IP and then if you go back your calculator, so if you put /20 there, see, it'll give you 4094 IP addresses. Okay, now so that's what gonna happen now when it, and if you want to change some IP addresses, you can put this, change this number, change this symbol greater than symbol. If you want your own customized way of IP addresses, you can do that. Yeah, now I don't want to talk about this NAT gateways and other things, endpoints for now, just leave it. For now, we're going to talk about these things. This is our circuit diagram, guys. Okay, so our circuit diagram, if you see the circuit diagram, we're going to create a VPC. And in this VPC, if you see, we have 3 AZs, 1 and 2 and 3. So there are 3 AZs available here, 1, 2, and then 3 AZs. Inside this we have 1 public and 1 private, 1 public and 1 private, 1 public and 1 private. Yeah, and then we have route tables. If you remember, subnets and route tables are kind of it goes hand in hand. Okay, you need to attach a route table to a subnet, only then it can communicate to the outside world, or it won't communicate to the outside world. Okay, now if you see this, 1 minute. Yeah, so just keep it none for now. We'll talk about these things later part, not in this session workshop. Okay, we'll keep this NAT gateway and VPC endpoint now if you scroll right, okay, here we go. So subnets, we calculated total how many subnets we have. 6 subnets we have. So we're gonna take care of 3 availability zone. In 3 availability zones, in 1 availability zone we have 2 subnets. So 2 2 2, so total 6, 1 public and 1 private in each availability zone. The next one is route table. See the route table. Okay, so we're gonna get 1 route table and 3 private route table, 1 public route table and 3 private route table. If you see this, I'm just hovering my mouse into the public route table. See the connectivity starting from the VPC and then where it goes. From the VPC, it goes here, the public route table, it's good. Now, if you see this, and then if you see the private route table where the connection goes, VPC, private subnet, and it goes to the private route table. But after that, it's not going to the internet gateway, which is what this one, IGW. If you remember in the last workshop, we talked about it, correct? The IGW. So the IGW is connecting to the public route table, and that public route table is getting connected to the 3 public subnets, 1, 2, and then 3. And what about private? If you choose private, see this private route table, private is connecting to this one, and this one. That's it. So this is what we're going to achieve. So whatever resources you are putting inside the private subnet, that is inside the private subnet, it will not connect to the internet gateway. Correct? Do you think it will connect? No, it will never connect. If you see this, is it connecting? No. Is it connecting? No. Is it connecting? No. But if you put public, yes, it's connecting. See, there is a connection is getting established from route tables and network connection. See this? Public, it's going there. Public, it's going there. Public, it's going there. Yeah. So that's the beauty of this diagrammatic. When I was learning, it was not like this. Now they made it so simple for easy understanding, which I really loved it. So let's do this. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a VPC here. Yeah, so we're gonna create a VPC here with the same thing, and this is my setup: 1A, 1B, 1C. In each availability zone, I'll be having one public subnet, one private subnet. So public subnets, and then route tables. We have one route table for public, okay, and 3 route tables, separate route tables for private subnets. And then it connects to the IGW. Okay, so that is what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna make sure that you check this box: DNS hostname and DNS resolution. Okay, this is for resolving the IP address to the hostname and hostname to the IP address internally. This is very important. And then scroll up, all done. If you're good with that, click on create VPC. Now the VPC is getting created. I mean, the custom VPC, you know, for us, not the default one. Okay, now if you scroll down, you know, you will see what all the things happening, and then see, ta-da, it's done. Now if you click on view VPC, yeah, so if you click on the new VPCs here, let me start from the beginning. Your VPCs, great. So this, we don't need the default VPC. So VPC, more VPC is there. This is the one which we created, and we got the VPC ID, and this is the CIDR range. And scroll right, and we got the route table, the main route table, okay, and then the NACL, blah 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 blah. Fine. Now what's next? The next is, I want to check the subnets, okay, whether the subnet is really created. Wow, see, last time we had only 6 which was connected for the default VPC. Now if you, okay, now if you see VPC, more VPC is there. If you click on this VPC heading, it will segregate correctly. Okay, here we go. See, ours is from here to here. This is ours. Now if you see this, okay, see this, we got US East 1A, which is a private one, and this is a public one, and this is a public one, and this is a private one for 1B, and this is a private one for 1C, and public for 1C. So two subnets in each availability zone. If you scroll right to the top, you will see, I mean to the right, let me see, if you click on settings right here, if you click on settings, you can uncheck whatever you don't want. Actually, we don't want IPv6 address, and then we don't want available zone ID. I don't want these things. Okay, so now if you click on confirm, so I'll get only minimum few things here. So even with that minimum few things also, I'm having trouble. 1 minute, I don't want subnet ID. Okay, available, okay, see this, just for our understanding. Yeah, now here, what is this? This is the one subnet which is in private, which is in 1A, and same thing public, which is in 1A. 2 things are done. And again, we're talking about 1B. So 1B, which is in public, and another 1B which is in private, and another one is a 1C, which is in private, and the another 1C is which is in public. So total we have how many subnets? 6 subnets. Now our next investigation, let's go to the route tables. When you go to route tables, if you remember, we have to have 4 route tables. So click on this VPC, so we will get 1 2 3 4 5 route tables. Okay, yeah, 5 route tables. I'll see how it works. Okay, now we will be getting 2F9. okay, and this is a default route table which is getting created. See this default route table or main route table, we can call it as a main route table. So what I'll do here is, I'll just put it like this, main RT for more VPC. Okay, more VPC for easy understanding. Yeah, cool. So 1 2 3 4 5, I'm just clicking on this. So here we go. So we will not talk about the main route table. Let me see if anything is connected to that or not. So subnet associations, okay, no subnet has been associated to this route table, so we can omit that right now. Okay, so we will concentrate only the 4. Only the 4 means I'm talking about the first 4. 1 2 3 4. See this? These many 4s will concentrate. Now if you remember, we had it was showing 4 route tables. One was the public route table, and another 3 was the private route table. Now what I'm suspecting is, if you see here, there is something called public here. See this? One public route table is there and 3 private route table is there. Well and good. Now if I go to the public route table, click on this. Okay, I'm sorry. Click on this route table, public route table. If you scroll down, see the public route table is having a connection, IGW connection is there. So that's why it shows public. Okay, now whatever you're launching under this route table with that, okay, now also click on the subnet associations. Click on the subnet association. See how many subnets we have given. We have given 3 public subnets in different availability zones. See 1A, 1B and 1C, all are public, which is a valid configuration. Okay, now this is fine. Now let's talk about the private one. If you click on the private one here, private 1B, so if you see private, it doesn't have IGW, which is a valid one. Click on subnet association. See, there is only one is connected for this private route table, which is a private to US East 1B, which is the same subnet. See, private to US East 1B. So likewise, route tables also getting created. Okay, and you forget about this main route table, which is getting created as default for this VPC. In this, we don't have any route tables or subnets got associated. Okay, so you can leave that. Even if you click on this, see, if you go to see, there is no internet gateway connectivity or outside the internet. Click on subnet association, you don't have anything. So we can forget it. Now click on internet gateway. When you click on internet gateway, yes, see, we got created here. VPC more IGW got created and it is attached to this VPC. Okay, that is also good. Now if you scroll down, we'll talk about this NACL later, guys. And yeah, so that's all. Our basic network VPC is done. It's all set up. So let me tell you again. Your VPC, if you go, and this is a VPC which you got created, click on it, and inside the VPC you will get your route tables. This is the main route table, okay, and this is the main NACL. Okay, now this VPC, okay, now the problem is, I want to tell you something. Now the problem is this route table, okay, which is mapped to this, this VPC is mapped to this route table. When you click on this route table, just see what happens. This says main route table, and if you click on this route table ID, it goes to the routes, but it's not working. And you know, it doesn't have any routes to the internet. Keep that in mind. Okay, because maybe when we are doing some more workshop, I think we have to come and change something here. Just remember that. And also there is no subnet associations here. Okay, cool. Just remember that part. So yep, that's all I want to talk about this. Now what we will do here is VPC is created successfully. Now I'm going to the EC2 instance. I'm going to create one EC2 instance. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Click on instances, launch instances. Okay, I'm gonna give my EC2 instance. Okay, my instance. Okay, in custom VPC. Okay, okay, scroll down. Okay, number of instances is only one. I'm gonna choose Amazon Linux 2 AMI instance type t2.micro. I don't want any key pair for now, not recommended. Now here it's an important part, network settings. Click on edit, and here we will get 2 VPCs. So one was the default one which we've been working on. Now the next one is VPC more VPC. So click on this. When you click on this, how many subnets you should get right now? If you click on this, you will get all the subnets. See, 1 2 3 4 5 6 subnets you have. Okay, now I want to access this instance right now. So do you think should we launch it in private subnet or public subnet? So obviously for now I'm going to launch it in public subnet. So what I've chosen is I'm going to choose public 1 use 1A. So I've clicked on it. Now this is a public subnet. Now I'm going to enable the auto assign public IP address so that Amazon will enable the public IP when the instance is getting launched. Now select existing security group, and then I'm using the security group. Okay, see, again, this is also another thing which I want to tell you. When you create a VPC, there would be only one VPC which was there, default security group VPC would be there. So I don't want to go with that. So what I'll do is I'm going to create new security VPC group. I'm going to give like this. So instance SG security group. Okay, so this is for security group. So now scroll down, and what I'm going to do is I'm allowing the SSH for now anywhere, but to be frank with you, you should not do like this in your production environment or in your company. Even they will not allow you to do it, but for this easy understanding, I'm going to give this option. I have explained this clearly in the workshop 1 or 2, I believe. Make sure that you remember that concept. Yeah, now scroll down, and I'm going to click on launch instance. Okay, when you click on this instance ID, it will take 2 to 3 minutes to come up. So it will be in a pending status. As soon as the instance is launched, just remember that. Okay, so it says running. Let's see what's going to happen. Yeah. Now, if you remember, let me rephrase it again. This instance, we have launched it in our custom VPC, the new VPC which we created under the US East 1A availability zone. Yeah. And now if you go to the networking, if you go here, the subnet part, you click on the subnet part. I'm clicking on the subnet. Yeah, and then clicking on the subnet again. Now scroll down. If you go to the route table, okay, this has connectivity with the internet gateway, which is good. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to launch the instance. Yeah, so clicking on it, this is running. Click on connect and click on EC2instance connect. I'm not using putty or anything because this is a browser based SSH, so it's very easy for the testing purpose. So let's see what happens. Okay, now it is working, it is getting connected. So why it is getting connected? Because we have launched it under the public subnet. Yeah, see this, it's working. Yep. Great. Okay, so perfect. Now I'm going to do something here. The same thing. What I'm going to do is click on launch instance. And then I'm gonna launch an instance like my private custom VPC instance. Amazon Linux instance type. This is a proceed without a key pair recommended. I'm clicking on edit and I'm choosing my VPC more VPC, and I'm gonna give it private here, private 1A. Okay, now even if you give enable auto assign public IP address for this, let's see what happens. Okay, common security groups, and I'm going to give instance security group here and scroll down and click on launch instances. The instance is getting launched. Okay, perfect. So I'm just exiting out the instance here, the one which we connected before. So this is the old one. I'm sorry, this is the one which we launched in public, right? So my instance is public. I'll just make it like this, so for easy understanding, public subnet custom VPC. Okay, and this is the my instance my instance hyphen custom my instance hyphen private, yeah, subnet custom VPC. Okay, now this one is fine, this one, because since we have launched it in the public subnet, it's working fine. But let's see this one, what happens. I'm clicking on the instance ID, and here I'm clicking on the subnet ID here. See, it says private US East 1A. Click on this and then click on the subnet ID. So when you click on this, then scroll down, you'll get something called route table. Scroll down, see, you do not have connectivity to the internet gateway. So when you do not have a connectivity with the internet gateway, how does it works? Yeah, it will not connect to the internet at all. Even we can't connect to the instance. So if you click on instance detail, this is the instance which we are trying to connect, this one, the private subnet one. I'm clicking on connect. I'm clicking on connect here, even though we got the public IP addresses. Okay, click on connect. it will not work because the internet gateway is not at all connected. You'll get some sort of error message, or it will say like the connection is timed out after some time. Okay, see, it's not working. It's because we have launched this instance in the private subnet, and the private subnet does not have connectivity to the internet gateway in with their route table. Okay, I hope you guys are clear with that. Cool. Now I'm going back here. Now say for example, this is another way of letting you know, another way of experiment. Okay, say this one we have connected, that is fine, no problem with that. Yeah, now this instance needs to connect to the internet. Yeah, this instance needs to connect to the internet. How is it possible? Is it possible to do that or no? That is the next question. Because for most of the times what happens is, I'll show you how our diagram is so that you will understand more. So our diagram right now is, this is a VPC. Yep, so yeah, here we go. So this is our VPC here. Okay, let me open the whiteboard, guys, 1 minute. Okay, so perfect. Now I'm gonna, okay, so this is the VPC. Yeah, so this is our custom VPC, the one which we created. Now inside this custom VPC we have we have 6 availability zones, but now I'll okay, let me do one thing. Okay, let me go back here to the instances. I want to show you and make sure that we are on a right page. So if you click on VPC here, so if you click on subnets, and in the subnets if you see okay, so yeah, so these things are all my VPC and my subnet. So how many? 2. So I have chosen how many availability zones? I have chosen 1A, 1B and 1C. This one as well. See these things, 1A, 1B, 1C. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 availability zones here. Okay, so this is one availability zone, this is one availability zone, and this is one availability zone. Okay, so this is US East 1. Okay, this is US East 1A, this is 1B, and this is 1C. Okay, now in this what we have done here is we have put 2 subnets, right? So one is the public subnet, and this is also one public subnet in 1B, and this is also one public subnet in 1C. Okay, and we put one private subnet as well. So this is one private subnet, and this is one private subnet, and this is one private subnet. Now okay, let me write it neat. Okay, this is public, and this is public, and this is public, and this is private, this is private, and this is private, and this is private. Okay, now what we have done, so what we have done is we have launched one EC2 instance. Okay, we have launched one EC2 instance here in US East 1A. This is one EC2 instance, and I am here and I was able to access without any issues. We are good. Now I have launched another EC2 instance in the same availability zone in private. When I'm trying to access, no, it's not working. Why? Because I mean, you guys have to answer this. So if you guys remember, there is something called route table, RT. Okay, and there is another route table. So there are a couple of route tables which we talked. So this is a public route table and this is a private route table. So private route table doesn't have access to the internet gateway. If you remember the internet gateway which I was talking about, yeah. So for example, internet gateway is like this. I have put it like this here, IGW. So this is having a connection to this public subnet. This is having a connection to this public subnet. This is having connection to this public subnet using the proper route table. And this one doesn't have no connection to the internet gateway. This has internal connectivity to everything. I hope you're clear with this concept. Make sure you understand this. So this is what our setup is. Now what we are going to do is, Samir, okay, if this instance, the instance which is in the private subnet, I'm talking about this instance, in this instance, if it wants to connect to the internet to update some software or to download something, how can we do that? Because this guy is not able to connect to this instance at all. Then how this can be achieved? So that is what we're gonna try on how to do this. Yeah, so we have two instances. One is a public instance and the other one is a private instance. Okay, now I'm going to introduce a concept called NATgateway, okay, which we call as a network address translation gateway. Now on the left side there is something called NATgateway here NATgateway. So just click on this NATgateway. You don't have any NATgateway created, but this is not free of cost. This comes with a charge. So click on create NATgateway, and then you can give like this, my NATgateway, something like this. Okay, now here you're going to choose, okay, where are you going to create this NATgateway? Okay, so basically on this diagram, where you have to create here is you have to create it in the particular subnet where you're gonna create in the particular availability zone where you have the instance in the private subnet. Okay, so in this I'm going to create here in this public things. Okay, in this public subnet I'm going to create it, which is in US East -1A. So here if you see this, I'm going to create US East -1A. So we have two. One is 0D, which is a private one, and this is a public one. Okay, but let me check. Yeah, so we have to see VPC more. Where is VPC more subnet public? Yeah, this one. See this? VPC more subnet public 1 US East 1A. Click on this. Yeah, and this is going to be the public NAT gateway for me. Yeah, and there is an elastic IP. You should associate it. So click on allocate elastic IP. So elastic IP is associated. So that's all. Now create NAT gateway. Now NATgateway is created. Now what is next, Samir? So next is you have to do some changes in the configuration. Okay, now when you create a NATgateway, it would be in the pending mode. Yeah, it will not be become active. It will take some time. In the meantime, what I want here is let me go to your VPCs. Okay, and this is the VPCs, and I'm clicking on EC2 instances. So clicking on instances running, there are two instances running. So here if you see, one is the public subnet and the other one is a private subnet. Now in the public subnet, if you click on it, now click on connect, obviously it will work. If you hit on connect, yeah, it's working fine, which is good. Now if you go back here, okay, if you go to the private subnet, obviously it will not work. Even if you hit connect, see this, it will not work. It will throw up an error message. See, you're not getting it. Now if you're not able to connect to that instance, how will you, how can you try to do an update on a software, considering if your instance, if you have a database in that particular instance which is stored in a private subnet, if you want to connect to the communicate to the internet to download some patches or something. So how will it work? How can be done? Yeah, that is the another question. So these kind of questions can be answered with the help of the NATgateway, the one which we created now. So if you go here again, and then if you type NATgateway, click on VPC. Okay, now if you click on VPC, there is something called NATgateway on the left side. Click on NATgateways. So NATgateway, it shows available. Yeah, now if you scroll down, this NATgateway is being put it on the subnet, which is the public subnet, which is in US East -1A. Okay, so as per our diagram, we have put it here, correct, in the public, and our instance is one of the instances in private. Now we are not able to connect to the instance private. First, what we need to do is we need to launch one instance in public. I think we have it already, correct? If you go here, see this instance is there already. My public subnet is already. Yeah. Let me see the key pair, whether we have a key pair or not. Okay, let me see the key pair. I think we haven't chosen the key pair because we need a key pair in order to make it work. Okay, so let's do one thing, guys. I do remember we have chosen proceed without a key pair because I'll show you why we need a key pair. Okay, I'm gonna terminate this instance. Instance state, terminate the instance. Okay, the instance will be terminated. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to launch two instances again. Click on launch instances, one in a public subnet and the other one is a private subnet. Okay, so I'm going to name it like this, my web server. Okay, and this is going to be in my public subnet, and I'm going to choose Amazon Linux 2 AMI 64-bit T2.micro. Here I'm going to choose my first instance PEMKB. Okay, now in this edit, if I choose my first instance PEMKB, okay, 1 minute, I want to check something real quick. I'm going to my downloads folder, and then my first instance KP. Do you have it? No, we do not have it, so I'll do this one. Okay, maybe what I'll do is I think I'll create a new key pair for our easy thing, because it's been a couple of days in the workshop. I'm going to create a new one. So my web KP, I'll say like this, and I'm going to keep it in RSA, and I'm going to keep it PEM format only. Okay, I'm clicking on create key pair. So my web KP is done. Now if you open and show in folder, and then if you my web KP, this is my private key file. If you right click and then if you click on open with, and then if you click on notepad, you should get a key like this. It should start like this, begin RSA private key and end RSA private keys. This is a key. Yeah, cool, that's fine. Now my web KP, I've created it, and in network settings I'm gonna create the new custom VPC which we created, and I'm gonna keep this in public US-1A, and I'm gonna assign this auto public IP, select an existing security group. I'm gonna give it instance SG, and if you remember in the previous workshop, you can always give the IAM role also. If you click on advanced details, IAM instance profile, there is something which we created in the session manager custom role. Yeah, and then click on launch instance. So this is the public instance which we created it. Now I'm going to create one private instance. Okay, so if you refresh it, it's in pending mode. Now I'm going to click on launch instance. So this I'm going to give like my database instance, which is secure, which I put it in the private subnet. Okay, cool. Scroll down, Amazon Linux 2 instance type key pair. Here I'm going to choose the my web KP. Yeah, and then the network settings edit, I'm gonna give it to the new VPC, and I'm gonna give it under private US East 1A. This is the one, right? Yeah, private one, and then auto assign. I don't want any public IP because anyways we are not going to connect it directly, and select existing security group. Now here the security group, what we have given here is instant security group. I'm going to give it like this, create security group. I'm going to give it DB security group. Okay, and this is for this is for this is for database security group, something like that. Okay, just assume like that. Okay, and this is the database security group, and I'm gonna give it like SSH, and this is gonna be anywhere. Okay, but the problem is, even if you choose SSH, since we're not giving any public IP, there is no point of giving SSH here. Okay, but just to launch the instance, I'm going to give this, but sooner or later we will try to change it. And in the advanced details, you can click on IAM instance profile, not this role, session manager custom role, and then click on launch instance. So let's see what happens. So click on instances. So total we will be having 2 instances running. So one is the my web server, which is in public subnet. I'll just add like this. Okay, my web server, which is in public subnet, my database instances, which is in private subnet. Yep, cool. Well, let's give it some time, 2 or 3 minutes, then we will start. Okay guys, so okay, let's do one thing. I'm clicking on my web server public subnet, and I'm hitting on connect, and I'm clicking on connect. Yep, so my public subnet got created, which is good. Now I'm going back here. Now if you click on the my database instance private subnet, we do not have any public IP address there. So let's click on connect, and then see, it says public IP address. No, you cannot connect. Instance does not have a public IP address. We have seen this already in the previous workshops. But if you click on session manager also, we have added the session manager, but let's see what happens. If you see here in the my web server public subnet, if you click on connect and the session manager, it's getting enabled because we have added the roles. If you remember, we have added the custom roles for the session manager, so that's why you are able to connect through the session manager as well. Okay, so I'm going back here. Okay, it shows 2 but 2 check passed. Click on the my database and then click on connect. Okay, so even the session manager, it's not working. So if you don't have an IP address, it's not the public IP address, it's not connecting at all. Okay, now how to connect to this instance? Yeah, that is the next part. So see, I have okay, let me close the other things, guys, so you will understand better. Okay, perfect. Now this is the connect, the public one, public instance. I'm just opening in a new window altogether. This is my public one. Okay, I'm alt tab, I'm going back to instances. Okay, so currently we have connected to this one, my web server public subnet. So this is the one. Okay, and if you see, this is the IP which we have it, 10.0.1.1.1.0.1, which is the private IP. See, 10.0.1.1.1.0.1. Perfect. Now I'm trying to ping space, and then if you go to this private subnet here, and then this is a private IP address, copying the private IP address, and then right click and then click on paste as plain text. If you hit it, I mean, even though it's in the same VPC, but still it's not working. You're not able to ping the IP address. So what we will do here is, there are multiple ways of doing this. Okay, but the best way, what I feel based on my experience, just for this workshop to make you understand, this is something to do with the security group, guys. Okay, so there are security groups which you need to add. Say for example, both these instances using the same security group, right? If you no, this one is using the different security group, that one is using the different security group, correct? If you go to the my database, and if you see the security group which shows this one, db-sg, if you go to my web server, that is using instance-sg. Now from this instance-sg, from here, that is from here, we are trying to connect to this machine. So what I'll do here is, let me see what is the security group for this dbsg. Yeah, so I'm clicking on this dbsg. Now here I have inbound rules. So what is it, inbound rules? It says something on SSH blah blah blah. If you remember, I left it like this and I told you guys that we will try to make it happen. So if you click on edit inbound rules, and then if you click on add rules, so there is something called ICMP. If you click on all ICMP v4, if you click on anywhere IPv4, click on save rules, and then if you come back to see, the pinging is started. So ICMP is a ping protocol. Okay, ICMP, just have a read through it. ICMP protocol, internet control message protocol, just have a read on it. It's good. So the pinging is started, which means that the connectivity is getting established between these two instances. Then the next one is, we have added these rules and it's working fine. Now how can I connect to that machine? Yeah, if you go to the instances back again, we have connected to this my web server public subnet, which is this one. Right now, how can I connect to this database instance? Because we don't have a public IP. Okay, there is an easy way of doing it. The easy way of doing it is both these instances using what key pair. So if you select this my web server, if you scroll down, there is a key pair which we created for them. So the key pair is my web KP. If you select the database one private subnet, that is also my web KP, and we have a my web KP file here. My web KP file content is there. If you open it, the content is there. Now what you have to do here is, this is a trick. Okay, now if you go to the instance here, okay, and then okay, so you are in EC2-user and you are in okay, I'm making like make dir db instance. Okay, and this is the folder. So inside this, I'm gonna create a file, okay, with the same name, vi space. You have to add sudo space vi space, and then the file name is what? My kp, right? My web kp. Yeah. So my web kp.pem file. Okay. So if you do like this, then it will ask you, okay, just press the I key for insert. If you don't know the vi tutorial, I would suggest you to go and check my video. I would add you here. So you have to click on the I key, then you just copy this, Control A, Control C, then you come here and then right click and then paste as plain text. Yes, it is pasted. Escape key, Shift ZZ. Now cat mywebkey.pem, it is done. Now if you type ls-lrt, it has these many permissions, so you just change it to chmod 400 mywebkey. So sudo chmod 400 mywebkp.pem, mywebkp.pem. Okay, now if you type ls-l, so again change mod is nothing but you're changing the permissions to access that file. So I suggest please have my old videos, check on that. Okay, cool. Now let's see whether how do you connect to this instance. Yeah, that is the next part. Okay, now if you go back to your instances and then say for example this is a private subnet, click on connect and then click on SSH client. So it says something like this, see, ssh-mywebkp.pem blah 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 blah. So let's see whether the same thing works or not. So just copy that and then I'm going back to my web one, paste plain text, click on this. Okay, it's asking you want to connect it. I just say yes. So it says permission denied. It's not working. You know, ls-lrt. Why it's not working? So maybe I would do like this: kp.pem mywebkp, not the pem. I will add ls. So now if you do that, not this one. Yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, permission denied. My not extend, no such file or directory. Okay, 1 minute. mywebkp.pem. Yeah, cat mywebkp.pem. Okay, sudo. Okay, let me try sudo and then let me try to connect. Okay, so maybe the permission issue. So click on this and then right click and then paste as plain text. Okay, see, it's because of the sudo issue. So I have to add the EC2-user, but that is a later part. But for now, you have connected to which machine right now? See this? 10.0.140-143, which is what? Which is a private IP address of this one, our database instance, DB instance. Now you are in database instance. Okay, so let me tell you again. I'm just hitting exit. Okay, what I did, just to repeat after you guys, I'm just closing this. Okay, so yeah, I have two instances. I'm connecting to this subnet instance because I'm not able to connect to this instance directly because we don't have a public IP address. So I'm connecting to this instance and I'm clicking on connect and I'm clicking on EC2 instance connect, hit on connect. Now that will get connected. I'm moving into a different window. It is connected. Now what I'm going to do is there is a folder which I've created. I just created for our easy way of accessing purpose. Here what I did, I created a new file with the same name which we have downloaded the key pair here in my local machine, mywebkp.pem. I opened this content from the Windows screen, copied it, and then I pasted in the VI editor here. That is what I did. Correct. If you open this, see, I'm sorry, it says permission denied, exit out. So you have to type sudo. Okay, I'll just move it to root itself. Now if you type mywebkp.pem, see the same content which I have, the same private key content here, from here I copied and pasted it. Yeah, so that is done. After that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do ssh-i, then you put this name, pem file name here, and then okay, at the same thing, see, it comes like this. 1 minute. So if you do this, paste as plain text. So ssh-i, this is the key pair name which I mentioned here, and then ec2-user at, and the private IP address of this machine. Private IP address of which machine? Private IP address of this machine, the database instance machine, this one. So if you click on this, the private IP is 10.0.140.143, 10.0.140.143, hit enter, see, it works. So this is how you can connect to the instances which are in the private subnet. Now you have a couple of namings here. We call this as a Bayesian host, or we call it as a jump server, because we are connecting to one server. From that server we are connecting to another server. So the server which we are getting connected, the first point, we call it as a Bayesian host or jump server. See, Bayesian host or jump box or jump server, you know. So they will say like this. So yep, I think okay, let me tell you another concept so we can close this off in this session. Yeah, now you have connected to the database instance. Now the real thing is we have to upgrade some software. Say for example, I'm just doing sudo space yum space update space y. Okay, it will do this loaded plugins, extra suggestions, blah 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 blah. But after that, it will not. It's trying to connect, because if you remember, this instance, it's in private subnet. It does not have any connectivity to the internet gateway. You remember, right? So here, if you see, this is the private subnet, and here we do not have any connectivity to the internet gateway. No. Now when you run this command sudo yum update, it's trying to connect to the internet and it's giving an error. Boss, I'm not able to connect to the internet at all. It's failing. Right. So what you have to do is, if you remember, a couple of minutes back, we have created something called NATgateway. If you go to your VPC, and then if you scroll down, there is something called NATgateway. If you click on NATgateways, here we created a NATgateway, which is fine. Okay, now the next thing is you have to add this NATgateway in one of the route tables. Okay, now if you ask me, Sami, which route tables, I'll tell you. Let's go to the VPC. If you go to the VPC here, and then subnets. Right. The first thing what you have to do is you have to go to EC2 instance, and you need to find out where you have launched the private instance in a private subnet. We know that it is launched in private US East 1A, but still I want you guys to check it. So instance running, this is my private instance, okay, and I'm clicking on instance ID, and here if you scroll down there is something called networking, and here also we have something called subnet. So what is a subnet? It says private 1 US East 1A. Now if you click on this, it will open up a new tab, US East 1A private 1. Here there is a specific route table is attached. So click on this. When you click on this, if you scroll down, there is something called route table is attached here. See this? So here we need to add a particular entry for NATgateway. So click on this route table here. Okay, if you click on this edit route table association, you will not be able to do it now. So cancel this, go back, and then click on route table again. Click on this route table, which will take you to the route table. Click on this route table ID again and scroll down here, edit routes. When you click on edit routes, click on add route, and here you just do from 0.0.0.0/0, okay, the destination, and then here you just type NATgateway. When you click on NATgateway, click on this NATgateway. So now what this happens is, the instance which we have it in subnet ID, the private instance which is there in the subnet ID, okay, and in this subnet ID is having the route table of this one, and this one, if it wants to connect to the internet, then it will come and it will check these rules. Okay, if that instance is trying to hit something outside of the network, it will come here, it will verify, yes, there is a NAT gateway is connected, so you can communicate with the NAT gateway. Okay, so click on save changes. Now it is done. Now if you go back to your instance here, now if you press the up arrow, if you do enter, just see what happens. See, it's working. It was an error message before, but now it is working. Yeah, so this is what, so please redo this exercise to understand more how it is. Now I would let you guys go away, but in the meantime, let me tell you one more thing. Yeah, so what we have done, I just want to tell you that. Yeah, so what we have done here is, okay, perfect. So here we go. So this is a VPC, guys. Yeah, inside this VPC, what we have done is we have 1, 2, yeah, and then we have, so we have this is US East 1A, 1B, and 1C. So inside this we have two subnets. Okay, one is the public subnet. These things are public subnet, and these things are private subnets. So these things are private subnets. Okay, now the public subnet, okay, let me write it. This is public, 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 and this is private, and this is private, and this is private. Okay, and I'm gonna put one internet gateway here. This is IGW, internet gateway. Okay, now now what we have done here is we have launched one instances here, EC2 instance we have launched here. This is one EC2 instance which is in public, and there is one more instance we have launched here which is in private subnet. So there is one more instance which we launched in private subnet. Okay, now what we are doing here is we were trying to, so somebody was trying to communicate to this private instances, but it was not working. Why? Because it is a private subnet, it doesn't have a IP, and also the route table is not connected to the internet gateway. Yeah, now if the same person is trying to communicate to the public subnet, the instances, yes, it is working. Okay, from here what we did, we are trying to communicate to the private instances using the other method which I was telling you. So from here we are trying to connect to the EC2 instances which is working. Yeah. Now from here, from the private instance, we are trying to communicate with the internet gateway, because internet gateway, what it does is, as you guys know already, which we have seen multiple times, the internet gateway will already have a link on the connectivity like this. The public subnet will go like this. See this? Only the private subnet will not have a connectivity to the internet gateway. Private subnet will be like this only. See, it will go like this, it will come 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 like this. That's it. Okay. No, I think that is wrong method. 1 minute, I will just, yeah, I think this is fine then. Okay. Now if the private instance wants to communicate to the internet gateway, so what is the rule? How do you do that? For that, what we have done here is, there is something called NATgateway. So we have created a NATgateway here, and then through the NATgateway, the private instance, what the private instance will do is, the private instance will go to the NATgateway. Okay, the private instance will go to the NAT gateway, and the NAT gateway will in turn communicate to the internet gateway and get the software delivered to the private instances. So this is very important part. For that, what we have to do is, we have to change something in the route table. If you see, we have changed something in the route table, right? So what route table? This route table, the private subnet route table, we have added 0.0.0.0. Then we have added the NAT gateway. So this is very important when you do this. Okay guys, so I think it's a pretty long session, sorry. So let's connect in the next part of workshop. So please take a nice break and come back.